Hello, my name is Yianna Lambrides.
I'm Alyssa Mack.
I'm Duha Mousa.
I'm Gloria Poisson.
This is the arm motor ability test, also known as the AMAT. For the scoring method and interpretation of scores, we first started by completing this test. It has different versions and components, and today we are focusing on version 13 with 13 components. Tasks are given and they're divided into 1 to 3 subtasks or movements. These tasks can involve the bilateral arm or distal and proximal part of the arm that is affected. The time limit for each task is 1 to 2 minutes. There are 2 scales that are going to be used. They're the functional ability scale, the ability to perform the task, and quality of movement scale, how the task is performed. Each component is scored on 6 points, Likert scale from 0, which is no hand use, to 5, normal hand use. The tester should read the instructions for each task carefully, and the task is demonstrated to the patient 3 times using the same arms as a patient would use. For the time purposes, we did this before the video. For this test, client is not allowed to practice the task on both the affected and unaffected arms. If a subject could not complete a task component within given time limit 1 to 2 minutes, the time limit is arbitrarily assigned as a score. The timing of the remaining task components are then resumed. The median is taken for the whole time taken when performing the task. The mean is taken for the functional ability scale and the quality of movement scale.
The assessment has 13 components, which includes plastic plates, Play-Doh, foam sponge, knife, forks, bowl. Those are some of the items. And the manual cost of the assessment is about $25, and the material cost approximately $30. And there is no training required.
So this will be a video demonstration of the testing procedures. For the sake of time, this is only a demo of the first 4 tasks.
Gloria, I don't know what to expect for our first day of fieldwork.
I know, I'm so nervous.
Me too. I really hope they don't test us on the arm motor ability test.
You're late. I hope you're ready for your pop quiz. Who here can tell me about the AMAT?
All right, my assistant Jasper is going to explain to you the function of the arm motor ability test, followed by student answers. Jasper, what's our purpose?
Thank you, Yianna.
Yes.
So, the purpose of the arm motor ability test is to measure gross and fine motor function of the upper extremity using activities of daily living, using qualitative and quantitative measures.
All right, Alyssa, your first question is, what's the target population?
The target population is anyone who has experienced stroke, any injury to the central nervous system, such as spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, or multiple sclerosis. Also those with vestibular coordination difficulties.
Very good, that's correct.
Okay. Gloria, can you tell me where we would use the AMAT?
Okay, it can be used in inpatient or outpatient neurological rehab, occupational and physical rehab, or skilled nursing rehab.
Good job, thank you.
All right, very good. It seems as though you know enough for us to continue. We're going to start the testing procedure. As a heads up, there are 13 parts to this assessment. Each needs to be completed in 1 to 2 minutes. And we're going to be looking at the functional ability of each task as well as the quality of the movement for each, using 2 different scoring sheets that'll be plugged in to one major scorecard, which we'll take a look at now. You guys are ready?
Yes.
Very good. All right, so for our first test, called the fork and knife task, we will have our simulated patient here. This is Jasper. They experienced a left side MCA stroke, which has now resulted in right-sided hemiparesis. So to start, we have our patient seated in a chair, back is against the back of the chair. Forearms are going to be here on the resting lines of our template, our forearms. So let's make sure we're a little bit higher up. Very good. And feet are prompted nicely on the floor. We have great posture. Excellent. Oh, that's all right. So the goal of this assessment is to essentially pick up the fork. This is your affected limb. This is your affected limb. That's right. So we're going to simulate how you ate prior to your stroke. So prior to this, was your dominant hand your right or your left?
Right.
Your right hand. Okay, and now your right hand is affected. Mm-hmm. So we're still going to continue the test as it was pre-stroke to just assess where we're at now. Okay. So you're going to listen to my instructions, and then once I say go, you'll perform the test. So as the therapist, I'm going to break this task down into 3 different components, right? So the first part of the task will begin when you lift off or pick up the utensils. The second part are if you readjust the utensils anyway in your hands. And the task 3 begins when your affected limb touches the fork. Begin with both forearms resting on the outer lines of either side of the plate on the table before you. When I say go, pick up the knife on your right hand and the fork in your left hand. Then cut the pieces of the meat on the plate along the indicated lines. You can work on the cutting part of this task for up to 2 minutes. Because your dominant hand was affected, when you've completed cutting the meat, put the knife down and switch the fork into your right hand and use it to raise 1 piece of meat to your mouth without touching your lips. Ready, set, go.
Okay, this is Alyssa. She has left-sided weakness. So we'll be doing the foam sandwich task, which have 2 components. The first part will be pick up the foam sandwich, and the second part is sandwich to mouth, and I'll be timing both parts, okay?
Begin with your forearms resting on the outer lines of either side of the plate on the table in front of you. When I say go, reach for the foam sandwich with your left hand. Hold the long side between your thumb and fingers like this, with your thumb underneath and your fingers on top. Then bring the short end of the sandwich to your mouth without touching your lips. Ready, set, go.
This task is eat with spoon. So there are 3 components to it. Pick up spoon, pick up bean with spoon, and then spoon to mouth. I'm going to be timing each section, and also the goal of this is to pick up each bean individually. It's okay if it drops off the spoon, continue and bring it to your mouth and then put it down. Pick up the next one. And I will just introduce our patient a little bit. Our simulated patient, Gloria, has Brown-Séquard syndrome, resulting in right side motor weakness. So we're going to use your right side to begin the task.
Begin with both forearms resting on the outer lines drawn on the table either side of the bowl. When I say go, pick up the spoon in your right hand. Use the spoon to pick up 1 bean from the bowl and bring the spoon with the bean in it to your mouth without touching your lips. If you have to, you may stabilize the bowl with your left hand, but try not to do this. Make sure you keep the bottom of the bowl flat on the table as you work. Do not tip it to the side to try and get the bean. Ready, set, go.
So we're going to be working on the drinking from a mug task. So we have Yianna here. She has deficits on her right side, so she's going to be using her dominant hand, which is also her affected hand, on her right side to pick up the mug, bring it to her mouth, and put it down. So in the starting position, we're going to have Yianna sitting up straight and putting her arms on the wider lines, resting there. And then when I say go, you're going to pick up the mug, bring it to your mouth, put it back down. Okay, ready?
Begin with both forearms resting on the outer lines drawn on the table in front of you. When I say go, pick up the mug by the handle with your right hand. Bring the mug to your mouth as if you were going to take a sip of water, but don't touch your lips. Ready, set, go.
This is the hair combing task. The tester timed 2 segments, pick up comb, and then comb hair.
This is the open jar task. Tester time 2 segments, grass jar top, open jar.
This is the tie shoelace task. There's 1 segment, tester times tie shoelace.
This is the use telephone task. The tester times 2 segments, phone receiver to ear, and pressing the phone number.
This is the wipe up spilled water task. Tester task times 2 segments, wipe up spilled water, and throw paper towel away.
This is put on sweater task. Tester time 2 segments, affected arm and sleeve of sweater, sweater over affected shoulder, and button the last 2 buttons.
For the put on t-shirt task, the tester times 3 segments, arms and t-shirt sleeve, shirt over the head, and shirt straightened on the body.
This is prop on an extended arm task. Tester timed 1 segment, which is prop on extended arm.
This is the light switch door task. The tester timed 3 segments, turning on the light, opening the door, and closing the door. So this is the first score sheet a tester will use when performing the AMAT, and they will fill in the different criteria such as the date, the paretic arm, the premorbid handedness, whether they're right or left hand dominant, their name, and any comments they'd like to add. This is the full score sheet that will be used during the assessment. As you can see, each of the tasks previously mentioned have each broken down component listed here, and each time that it took to do each of the segments will be filled in these boxes. Functional ability will be circled from 1 to 5, as well as comments for the qualitative component. Following these numbers will be summarized, and a mean will be calculated, as well as a median. This is the functional ability scale. It's measured from 0 to 5, 0 meaning there's no attempt with the involved arm, 5 meaning a movement appears normal, and 1 to 4 display different degrees of functional ability. This is the second scale that's utilized. This is the quality of movement scale from also 0 to 5. 0 indicates no movement was initiated, while 5 represents normal movement, and this is assessing the qualitative component or the quality of movement per task.
For reliability and validity measures and clinical utility, the AMAT was found to have high retest reliability, inter-rater and intra-rater reliability, and internal consistency. There's also sensitivity to change and has satisfactory concurrent validity. Overall, we found that the AMAT's strengths include that it measures quality and functional ability of movement, and it's a test that's specifically designed for occupational therapists because it uses ADLs to test upper extremity function, and the manual and materials are affordable. The weaknesses that we found were that the AMAT is timed and speed is not the best metric for measuring functional ability, and the eating component was not culturally competent.
To reflect, this test is time-consuming and will be difficult to use in one therapy session, but with good judgment, the tester could take components of the assessment and test those to get a clearer picture of the client's ability, as long as they document deviation from the protocol. Additionally, some tasks were not culturally inclusive. When performing the feeding task, the instructions specifically follow American etiquette standards, which do not take into account how people from other cultures may eat. Overall, this is useful assessment as it has a high validity rating and covers a wide range of activities of daily living with both qualitative and quantitative measurements. And these are the references.